the last update I did was 38 weeks, which was 2 weeks ago. Sorry I haven't updated since. It's been really busy and crazy. I updated on Sunday, and I gave birth to my beautiful baby boy on the Monday. I didn't think I would go into labour for at least another week. How wrong was I? My waters broke at 5:30 in the morning, but I was having really, really mild contractions. So I had a shower and I had breakfast and I sorted my hair out, put it up in a bubble really tight, put a bit of foundation on so I didn't look too pale. Made sure we had all the bags, and then we went to the hospital. No rush. Got to the hospital about 7:20, I think, and I was examined, and I was 4 centimetres and my waters had broke, but they wanted me to go home because I was still only 4 centimetres. But by the time they'd confirmed that they wanted me to go home, my contractions had got a lot worse and were closer together, and I couldn't walk from the hospital bed out to the bathroom without having a contraction. So the next thing was they wanted me to walk around the hospital. Again, by the time that they confirmed that they wanted me to walk around the hospital, my contractions were even stronger and almost one on top of each other. There was no way I was going to be able to walk around the hospital. The next plan was to have a bath. So got in the bath. It was absolutely pointless because I was on all fours when I was having a contraction, which was like literally every minute, just as one tailed off, I'd have like a second, well, it felt like a second to breathe, and then I'd have another one. And the water was just did nothing. It was lame. So as soon as she came back in, I said I wanted to get out. It was pointless. It was just making me feel worse, and it was really hot in there, so I was feeling really sick and dizzy. I threw up a lot as well. It was sick a lot. Not, I know, TMI, but I didn't know that when you're in labour you threw up so much. So walked back to the room that I was in, and it took 20 minutes, and it should have taken like 5, because I was having contractions. I kept having to stop and breathe through the contractions in the corridor. Got back to the room. They gave me gas and air, which again I hated. It just made me feel sick. I carried on using it just because it helped me concentrate on breathing, and it gave me something else to think about, but it didn't help with the pain at all, and it did just make me feel sick. So about 2 o'clock I said I wanted an epidural. I'd had enough, and they were trying to talk me out of it, trying to get me to go to the low risk side, because I was a low risk patient at that point. But I knew that I wanted an epidural by now, and I was in a lot of pain. I don't know how women do go through labour without an epidural. You guys are amazing. So yeah, and I got an epidural roughly about 2 o'clock-ish. It worked down my right side but not my left side, and I was getting serious back pain through the contractions because Leo was lying back to back with me, which was putting pressure on my back, causing me to have back pain. So then I was on all fours trying to get him to move round. Then the epidural wore off. That was hell. So they tried to up the dose, but it didn't work. So they got the anaesthesiologist back in to give me a super strong dose. That sort of worked for a while. And then it quickly wore off in what felt like 5 minutes, but apparently was more like half an hour. But yeah, that wore off quite quickly. And I was getting the back pain again, and I kept saying to the midwife, because I didn't get an urge to push, but I did feel like I needed to go to the loo. So I kept saying to the midwife, like, I really feel like I need to go to the loo, but I can't get up. Like, I am in so much pain. I can't get up, but I really feel like I need to go to the loo. At this point, Leo's heart rate kept going to 200 and then back down to 130 and then back up to 200. So she was concerned about his heart rate being so erratic. So she went and got I think he was a surgeon, but it might have just been a doctor, I'm not sure. And he checked me, and he said Leo was back to back still, so he hadn't moved, which was why my back was hurting so much. But I was also at 10 centimetres, which is why I felt like I need to go to the loo. But because Leo's heart rate kept rocketing and then dropping again, they needed to get him out as soon as possible because they had no idea why. They thought he might have an infection, but then they just weren't sure why, so they wanted to get him out as soon as possible. Plus, this was at about 4 o'clock in the evening or late afternoon, and my waters had broken at 5:30, so it was coming to up to 12 hours, and they don't want you to go over. They don't like you to go over 10. I think it is really, since the waters break. They want to try and hurry things up a bit. So he said that we did a practice push to see how well I could push, and he said that we were going to try and do a forceps delivery, but we might have to do a cesarean depending on how things go. So I was terrified because I really, really didn't want a cesarean, and I didn't really want forceps, but those were kind of the only choices I was given. They got me ready for theatre and took me down about 5 o'clock. I was in there, and then they gave me, I don't know if it was more epidural or a spinal block or what, but I could not feel from my waist down, like what, from my chest down, nothing. So they did that, and so at about 5:30 we were all ready to push, and I did 3 pushes, and Leo was born at 5:53 p.m. On the 13th of August. So he was a week and a day early. He was 7 pounds 3 ounces. He was born tongue-tied, and he couldn't feed. So in his first day, yeah, he would have been 1 day old. They cut the bit at the bottom of his tongue so that he could feed. And he was on antibiotics. It turned out he did have a mild infection. I think they said 3. I don't really know what that means, but he was on antibiotics literally from the evening he was born until the day we left, which was 4 days later. But now we're all fine. He feeds really well. He's a really, really good baby, like really placid, sleeps loads, only really cries when he's hungry or he needs to poo. Yeah, he's a really good baby. Got really lucky. I'm fine now. The first week was probably the worst. In fact, because I was in hospital for the first week, when my stitches first were healing, and I didn't really have pain. Like, they tell you to use a cup of warm water when you go to the toilet so it doesn't sting, but I never had any stinging. It was just uncomfortable to sit down, and I felt like I had to really gingerly sit down and be careful with my legs so that I didn't pull the stitches. But now that the stitches are all healed and everything, I feel absolutely fine. There's no problems whatsoever. Breastfeeding is going really, really good, and I've lost all but 3 pounds of my pregnancy weight. So just lose 3 pounds and I'll be back to my pre-pregnancy weight. So everything's going really, really well. I got really lucky. Didn't get any stretch marks really. I got a couple of little red, sort of red, but they're where I had stretch marks before anyway, so they're not proper stretch marks. So again, got really lucky with that. And yeah, it's been great. I'll quickly show you my belly so you can see what I mean about not having gained or not keeping the pregnancy weight. But if you've got any questions or anything you want to ask me, just message me in the bottom and I'll try and get back to you. Oh, I need to go back. Yeah, see. I need to go backwards more. Back to what I was like, pretty much before I had him. So yeah, good luck to anyone having a baby, and take care. Bye.